right now we have a sweet little Node.js server which talks to a MongoDB. We got some API routes which we can call, but there's no real-time socket connection by now, which is what we need for our chat. So now we go ahead with a socket setup right inside our server.js. So first of all, we require what we've installed, so socket.io, and we need to pass in the server as well. So IO or socket.io knows where to run. Then we can listen to some events. And first of all, we got the general connection event. So somebody connected to our socket. And this event is not yet super helpful, but inside we can now listen to the real socket events that happen or that our app broadcasts. And in our case, we will broadcast something like join room if the user wants to join a chat room, which means he's online, he should receive all the updates. And in this case, we can log this, join room chat ID. So that's why we need the chat ID inside the app as well. We simply call socket.join, and this joins a room. As you can see, you can join multiple rooms. So this is exactly what we need with the chat ID. So once a user broadcasts this message, he will be inside this socket group, and he will receive all the messages that we broadcast to a specific socket group. Perhaps we can copy this to make it easier. Then we got socket on disconnect. There's no chat ID in that case, but in that case we can also say user left. So this is just for us. You could use whatever you like. If you have something like showing which user is online, you could display this, use this to broadcast a message that a user has left and this one that a user has joined. But we don't need that in this example. And now the one that's perhaps the most important, chat message. If you ask why I use this syntax, it's just, I don't know, I saw it somewhere and I think it looks good. You can distinguish between different stuff. So of course you could use a different name right here. So if a user sends a chat message to a chat, there are two things we want to do. First, we want to save this message to our database so we can later retrieve it. And then we need to broadcast it to all the users of that chat group. So we start with the first one, new message, just like we did with our, is it already imported? I don't know. Let me copy it in. Okay. Just like we did with the chat group before, but now we create a new chat message and we say the chat is data.chatID. So the data object will be filled by our app, and we will see this in the second section of this course. And finally, chat message and from. So we keep this very simple here. Now we got the object, and just like before, we call save, but now we use the completion to do something else. So after the message is stored, we use IO2. So this targets a room, and we need to target the chat room of that message, so the ID. And in this room, we want to emit a message. And this is also a name we can define. So we will emit chat message with the new message object. So all the users that are connected with Socket inside this room will get this object. And inside the app, we can then handle what we want to do. Of course, we will add it to an array of messages. And if you go back and again into a chat, you will join the chat again, of course, but you will also get the historic data as we have saved it before to our MongoDB. So I think I had an example on my blog a while ago. In that case, there was no way to save the data. And in this in-depth course, we are using MongoDB to save our messages, which you can, of course, do in a real app as well. Okay, so enough on that. Actually, it's not really, I think it's not able to, or it's not easy to test the Socket chat with Postman. Perhaps there are testing tools, but I think the best way to test this is just to write our Ionic app. If we need to go back later, I will hint to this, but I think we're good here. So make sure your server is running on this port or wherever it is, and then we can start with our Ionic Socket chat app.